been.
Where did you dig up that old fossil?
Going into Toshi Station to pick up some power converters.
That's no move.
We're all fine here now, thank you. How are you?
Welcome to the Star Wars Nerds Podcast. I'm Dan Vadabonker.
And I'm Kenton Larson.
And another week has come and gone, and we have another episode of the Book of Boba Fett to talk about. It's so good. I can't, every week when I think, okay, now they're going to do something like it's going to be horrible, it's just awesome. I just love it.
I thought of you for this one as I was watching it, because I'm like, Dan loves Jabba's Palace, and oh my, like, there's parts of Jabba's Palace we could have only have dreamed about.
We get kind of the behind the scenes of Jabba's Palace. That's so cool.
We saw how the cheese gets made. we saw a lot of interesting things, and it's interesting sort of from a big picture. I'm going to tell you what, like, just to set the scene. As the episode began, the thought in my head was Star Wars fans are going to hate this. Okay, that was the thought in my head. And then as it started to progress, started going, I was like, oh, they're really going to hate this. And then something happened where I was like, they're going to totally hate this. And then by the end of the episode, I was like, they're going to love this. so it went like from, and sure enough, I'm seeing more positivity about this particular episode online. But it's so funny because it starts off in a place where I thought, oh my Lord, the complaints are never going to end about this episode. Did you think the same thing, or did you
I did. Picture? Yeah, I did. Certainly for I know exactly what you're talking about, and we'll get there in a second. But I think it was mostly because of for the first time, and I don't know what's been happening. I've not really been following along with the reaction the way you have, as far as how the fans are feeling about the show. Yeah. But until this past week, I was not aware of anything until the scooter, the Vespa gate, or whatever you want to call it. Everybody's criticizing the scooters. Everyone hates the scooter gang. By the way, they're called the Mods. That's the name of his gang. So can we not call them the Mod Squad, please? Can we not be their name?
I thought of the Mod Squad. I also thought of the Who. The Who was like their fans were the mods, right?
Right. Exactly. And maybe somebody said that on one of my TikToks. I posted a clip from our podcast on TikTok, and somebody said, influenced by the Who and 1960s British culture. That's what he said. And I'm like, that's absolutely right. But other people said they look like Vespas, which is also a 1960s Italian culture, right? Like, it's just European, basically.
I was waiting for they were they playing music in the tattoo parlor or in the mod parlor? I think they were. Yeah. But it was not. A part of me was like, oh, wouldn't it be great if we heard like Pete Townshend's voice reversed or something like that, or Roger Daltrey in reverse or something, just a little like shout out to the mods, because they are riding around on Vespas, and they are, you know what I mean? Like surely, and I'm surprised, I haven't looked, Pete Townsend is very active on Instagram usually.
Okay.
And I was kind of like, is somebody going to tell him about this? And so far I haven't seen anything yet, but that's, there's something going on there that I think not a lot of necessarily fans can be young, right? So they wouldn't necessarily know about all this stuff. So
right. For the first time, I saw like a big wave of negative reaction to this show, and I was not aware of that happening. I thought there was a big wave. Maybe I'm wrong.
Did you see it? Where did you see it?
Well, just online, social media, people saying, I saw one person say, it's horrible, it's awful. Maybe this is on TikTok too. I probably saw it on TikTok because that's where I spend most of my social media time. And it's really, and then I think the one tweet that encapsulated all of it was like, there's somebody quoting somebody that says, "Oh, this Book of Boba Fett show looks like it was made for kids," and the person replies, "Dude, I have bad news about all of Star Wars." Because it's all for kids. Like, ultimately, it's all for kids, right? It's all meant so kids can watch it, but we love it so much that our fandom has continued into our adulthood, and that's going to happen for the kids who love it now. That's what Star Wars is, right? So it's okay that there are like brightly colored scooters. We had fun with it, we laughed about it, but I'm not mad about that.
No, there's nothing in this show that makes me angry. Like when you watch Rise of Skywalker, there's things there that make me angry. There's things where I'm like, J.J. Abrams, don't you know what don't you realize? And it's not based on aesthetics or anything. It's just based on dumb story decisions based on the story he wrote. Okay, like, to me, that's a different scenario, right?
Right.
But for this stuff, I just was really digging the vibe of this. I from the beginning, I like this series. There's a couple standout episodes so far, I think. But I'm along for the ride. And by the way, I believe we were saying last week on the podcast that this is a slow burn to mayhem. That's where we're headed, and it sure seems to be heading in that direction.
Oh yeah, and we did get a taste of badass Boba Fett in this one. Like that was something I felt validated. I felt you also felt validated when you called it last episode where you said we're gonna see him like just be horrible, and we do see that. So let's start at the beginning and the early episodes. So we immediately start in the flashback. Like we're in the back to tank, flashback back to is what I've been calling it. What?
Back to the future. Back to the future. That's what it is. I heard somebody say it. I can't remember where, or maybe tweet it, but I was like, oh, except I think they said back to the future. And I'm like, no,
that's already in there.
The future.
Back to the future. So this is after he discovers that his village has been destroyed, everyone's been killed, and he's wandering the desert on his bantha. See, first he scopes out Jabba's palace. Like this is, he goes over there, scopes out Jabba's palace, and sees a ton of guards, and basically decides, no, I can't do this right now. It's just too much for me. I can't handle this. I have to come back when I have more. My armor. He needs his armor, basically.
He's on a slow-moving bantha, right? Like, there's not too much you can do. But it turns out a very lovely bantha.
Oh yes, and that's the problem. That's the problem fans are going to have is with his relationship with the bantha.
No. See, I thought they were going to have a problem with something else.
Okay.
When I watched this, I was like, I could just imagine all of fandom going like, we know what happens here. We know what he's going there to do. We know what he ultimately gets because we saw it on The Mandalorian. We know. Why are you showing us what we already know? That's what I thought fans would be saying.
Really?
They'd be like, yeah, I thought they'd be going, we have 45 minutes and you're telling me that we're going to go see what we already knew happened. That's what I think. But it didn't happen, did it? But I think because of what happens later on, maybe. But I think if that was the whole episode, I think people would have just been disgruntled.
Yeah, I guess. And I don't know. It didn't even occur to me. I was just watching and going, okay, this is like, it's the next step in the story, right? We have two stories happening here of what happened to him at one end of the timeline and the other end. Now, those two ends, as we've learned, are coming closer together. He spent a lot more time with the Sand People than I thought, anyway. Like, it seems that he spent years with the Sand People.
That the timeline here, I mean, I can honestly say that, I mean, you and I have been following Star Wars our whole lives, and I'm getting confused every now and again at the timeline and at where we are. And is he in the back to tank? Is he out of the back to tank? And a lot of people thought in that first episode where you see the guy getting roughed up that was Owen Lars. And those are Star Wars fans. And it's just, no. It's like after Return of the Jedi, right? But then after Return of the Jedi with two timelines. So that's the confusion and the amount of time at which things are happening. I keep reminding myself, like, where's his armor? Didn't he get it already? And all of that stuff. And it's only because we're trying to put the pieces together in our head as it's unfolding live in front of us, right? Mm-hmm. So I don't know the answers to some of those questions, like how long was this supposed to be? In some ways, things seem quick. In some ways, they seem to be drawn out. I just don't think we really know.
Do you think they would have been better served to tell the story from beginning to end the normal way instead of having the flashbacks, or is it better for the pacing and to switch gears and to do different things? Like that's probably why they're doing it, right? To keep it interesting. But if they just started at the beginning, him crawling out of the Sarlacc and then go until the Book of Boba or until Mandalorian, that might have been more clear and maybe better story.
I thought we were just going to get a flashback because we knew we had to see him escape, right? Yep. We had to see that. Like, you can't do this series and not have that. So I thought that's going to be him telling the story to someone and we'll cut back. But what I didn't expect was that the flashbacks would be most episodes.
Right. And in some cases, most of the episodes, certainly this one that was mostly flashback. So he goes checks out Jabba's palace. We see a lovely moment with him in the bantha by the fire. One of the things people
with a giant tongue, lot of tongue. He showed a lot of tongue, that bantha.
Oh boy. Now people, another thing people are criticizing is the fact that he's too nice. They didn't like him in the Rancor. Somebody tweeted, I can't remember who it was, tweeted an image of Boba in the big red Rancor, and it was like a Clifford, but a Rancor, right? And he's a cuddly happy Rancor. People didn't like that, although he was not cuddly in this episode. But he does that again. He's nice. He's just nice to animals. Like he's, it's again shows that he's a changed person. He's not the same Boba Fett he was in the original movies. He's different. He's learned to love his bantha. He's, again, if he's been there for years, he's probably had that bantha for years. It's probably like a pet to him, right? So
I really don't think it's been years.
He says, and when they get to the Sarlacc pit at the end of this episode, he says, "There's where I was put in all those years ago." He says that. I'll find the line.
The Sarlacc pit. That's where I was trapped all those years ago. That's where I'll find my armor.
It's been years in the present timeline, right? Not the past timeline. It's been years.
When he goes back there with Fennec, we're getting ahead of ourselves. When he goes back there with Fennec,
we're getting there in a minute. But see what I mean? Even seasoned Star Wars fans are like, "What happened? Where were we?" Like,
yeah. Now I said, as much as I gushed about this episode at the beginning, this opening scene of him in the mod shop or whatever, I did not like it. I
thought people were gonna hate it.
Yeah, I didn't like it. I thought it was like, oh, this is so awkward, and it's like the acting isn't great, and who are these people? And I didn't like the music either. I didn't think that felt it felt like we walked out of Star Wars and into like cyberpunk. That's kind of what we like. It gave me those cyberpunk vibes or William Gibson vibes. Johnny Mnemonic.
I mean, Darth Vader got the mod. Like he got the mod,
right?
But we didn't. It wasn't in a fly by night, 24-hour tattoo / wicker store or whatever that was.
Yeah.
And Luke got a mod on his hand, right?
Right.
Hand, and that was done by a medical droid. So I'm sort of confused about like you can get mods in various places. Like, could he have gone to visit Amy Sedaris and got a mod there? Like, how common is this, and where do you get it? But
my question is, why did he have to do it? And sorry, I skipped part.
It's a tattoo parlor.
It is exactly tattoo parlor. Yeah. He finds Fennec. In the desert. Now, is this after Fennec the first time after Fennec encounters Mando?
Yeah.
Right.
That's the scene where we see him in the credit sequence, or right before it, walk up.
Yeah.
We see feet walking up to her, and then that plays itself out again.
Mm-hmm. And that's what you think people are getting mad because we have to see like, why are we seeing this again? Is that people?
Well, I thought they would, but I'm not seeing lots of anger
because it's only for a few seconds that they're repeating and really just showing it from a different angle. And now we understand who he is. Like and I think that's what the Bantha scene is for. The Bantha scene is really to solidify who this character is and who this person has become since crawling out of the Sarlacc pit. So he rescues her. He takes her to the mod shop. They do a bunch of stuff in her guts. They replace a bunch of her innards. And then they wake up, and then he takes her back out into the desert in the middle of nowhere, and then wakes her up. Kind of weird to do it that way, but okay.
I thought that he had a long history with Fennec Shand. I thought that's what we were going to discover. I thought there was going to be hey, remember me on Ord Mandel or whatever. I thought there was going to be one of those, but there wasn't. He found her. That's how they met. Which is interesting. I thought there might be a long story about bounty hunting
but he knew who she was, right? He recognized her, so they know each other. I guess through circles, right? Like if she could also very well have been part of the crew in the Empire Strikes Back, the one standing along that. You know what I mean? Like the
do you think? Well, I mean, implication.
No. I'm just saying that she is a part of the bounty hunter community. Is what I'm trying to say. You know what I mean? So he knows who she is. She knows who he is, but she's never seen him without his helmet on, right? And she thinks he's dead. Like everybody thinks he's dead. So and they just have like a conversation about like, I saved your life. Now I guess she owes him, and he wants her. This is when we start to find out. And the other thing is he recaps everything. He does everything. This is kind of a little bit repetitive, though. He like everything that we've seen in all the other episodes is he just says it all right here. So right. So we don't really need that. A little bit extra exposition we don't need, but maybe just to make sure everybody understands what's going on.
And it's also the voiceover from the trailer where we've been waiting for him to say, "I was left for dead on the sands of Tatooine."
Yes.
And so he finally said it. Oh, and by the way, I think we're done with all the scenes from the trailer.
Okay.
Finally.
Okay.
I think we finally got to the moment where we're going to see like 100% new content in the next episode. But that was oh no, that's not true. Sorry, that's not true. There's
Okay.
something in the trailer we have not yet seen that we will see, but mostly we've seen almost everything in that trailer. And I'm glad we got that line out, but you're right. He summarizes it nicely. I do think, once again, I thought Star Wars fans would be like, yeah, we know. But I do think it's worth reminding people because as we're proving today, as we're talking through it, I'm like, oh, really? Is that what happened? Is that the timeline? Is that what's going on? When you watch it only once, which we have only done this time. Last week we saw it twice. This week watching it once, it's true. There is a blur factor and an excitement factor about seeing the show that then makes you forget stuff. So we need to watch it. We will watch it again, but it's just one of those things that happen.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So he asks her. Oh yes, he asks her to help him go into Jabba's palace to get his ship. And he says my fire spray ship. He doesn't say Slave
Fire
One.
spray gunship.
Yeah, fire spray gunship. And I guess there's
spray gunship.
people are upset because he doesn't say Slave One. He doesn't say the name of his ship. And it's and people think, oh, it's because his name is Slave, and they don't want to say Disney doesn't want to say slave or whatever. But I just, they're just reading too much into that. I just think that you don't go and say the name of your, like if you own a boat, you don't say, oh, let's go find my what's a boat name?
Princess Margaret of the Sea.
Yeah, let's go find Princess Margaret. You say, let's go find my boat. Let's go find my ship. He should just, let's go find and he says fire spray, like whatever it is, like just to make sure that they know what kind it is. And it's very important. This is his father's ship, right? This is the same ship as his father had.
It's a class of ship.
Yeah.
Is what it is. He's not saying that's the name of his ship.
Yeah.
He's saying that's the class of it. That's what we're going to get.
Yeah.
So it's I'm getting my Chevy Nova.
And for one, I'm glad they showed us this. I was excited about this. As soon as I realized what they're doing, I'm like, oh yes, we get to see inside Jabba's palace. We get to see them. And then they said we got to do a sneaky. We got to sneak in. You can't go in guns blazing because there's too many guards. I'm like, yes, I love stealth missions. Although I don't know how nobody noticed that glowing ball floating around the. I mean, come on, it's got red lights and it's zipping around. How can you not see that? Who knows? But anyway, they FedEx sends her glowing ball in there to scope out the area. It kind of reminded me of the scene from Prometheus. Remember in Prometheus when they're mapping out the caves? So and they decide to go in stealthily. We have a great scene. This is got to be my favorite scene from the episode. Just this kitchen
Solid
scene.
Gold.
Oh my god, it's so funny.
That's where I was like, wait a sec. This is good. This isn't just what we've seen before. This is something we have not seen before. Which is that there's a chef, and he's basically General Grievous with kitchen knives,
cleavers, really.
With cleavers, right? Yep. He's got he's making dinner, and and he's and that he can use those knives to make dinner or to attack you.
And then what's the name of the other droid? And is this the same one from the movie?
I believe that's EV-99. An action figure from Return of the Jedi. I think that's who that is. I'd be surprised if it wasn't, because we've got Max Rebo and 8D8 already, so why not? I think that's
And he's like, what? Oh, it's the rats. And so we learned that rats exist in the Star Wars universe. I didn't know that was a thing.
A womp rat.
What's that?
Remember?
Womp rats. I guess
I used to bullseye womp rats in my T16 back home.
Right.
They're not much bigger than a meter. So I assume, I don't know.
Those are giant rats. I always thought a womp rat was like a marsupial or something.
Well, a meter stick is a long stick. So maybe it's not a womp rat, a different kind of rat.
But so they figure it's rats. It's not. It's Fennec and Boba. So they're snooping it out, and then so they have this great scene where they have to take out the cleaver robot. Fennec takes out the Fennec ends up taking out the cleaver robot after a great
that reminded me of Raiders of the Lost Ark. Look at all my swords, and she goes up behind him and goes like
exactly.
It's a different punchline.
Cuts his throat, chops his head off. And but great. I love that whole thing. And then they have to deal with the rat catcher bot. Is that what you thought Star Wars? Did you think Star Wars fans would hate the rat catcher bot?
No. Okay. I thought they'd like it. He reminded me of the pod racers. He's right out of the right out of the prequels, right? That's what he looks like. So it's kind of fun to see him there post Return of the Jedi running around, and he's fast. He's hard to catch himself, like a rat catcher would be. Probably, and it's got a great punchline.
He just turns
Once
himself
again.
off. He just turns himself off. It's like, no, I'm not
Boba
dealing
Fett.
with this. Choo.
Don't you know who I am? I was left for dead on the sands of Tatooine. No, he tells the whole story again. No, he didn't.
Yeah, he does. Every time he runs into somebody new, he has to tell them the whole story. All right.
So yeah, that's great. Shuts himself off. I'm surprised we have never seen that before in Star Wars, have we?
A droid. Oh, well, we've seen 3PO shut himself off.
No, but we haven't seen shutting yourself off out of fear.
Oh no, I guess not.
I don't think we have, but that's it was great. It's a lovely scene.
3PO powers himself. So if you don't mind, so I'll turn off now. No, go ahead. And he just shuts down for no reason.
Yeah.
Okay, so then we go. So then they have to get the ship back. It's a pretty exciting breakout of the Jabba's palace. He's like. She's kind of on the. It was fun. She's like balancing on the ramp. She's kind of shooting at the guys, and he's trying to get out of there. And they have to figure out how to get the door open.
I like the hangar that Slave One was parked in. That was pretty. I like that. I just like the way that looked. It looked like Jabba's palace. It looked like this Slave One looked like it did when we last saw it. It was cool. It was just neat to see it like parked there and.
Yep.
Before and then he's like, I got some scores to settle. He's gonna go settle some scores, and that's also where things really were a lot of fun.
Yes, that's right. So the first score he has to settle, as it turns out, is with the Sarlacc, which is still alive. In the pit. That was such a good scene. And so and the way they do this, so he like points the ship into it, so you can see down. He's like looking down into the thing.
Did you ever think we'd see the Slave One flying into the Sarlacc pit? I was like, this is hilarious. And they've got the glass facing in. Oh, hilarious. And
like I kind of wish they cut away to a shot of what it looked like from the other. They didn't really show us what it looked like from the outside.
Because it would look stupid, probably. Yeah. They probably had that shot. They probably had that shot, and or it looked pornographic, or it looked probably something. There's probably some good reason why they didn't show that shot. I'm sure they did it though.
Yeah, they would have. Yeah, you're right. They would have thought of every shot, right? Yeah. So then he's looking for his armor in there, and then it turns out the Sarlacc is still alive, right? And so it tries to eat the ship. Pretty much.
Yeah.
Again, another great scene where they have to fight it off, and Fennec has to flip a switch.
Bomb. It's one of Jango's bombs.
Oh, yes. One of the bombs. Yes, that was so cool. Yeah.
What is Boba says? Never touch my buttons.
Yes.
Or something like that. I can't remember what it was.
Hold on. See if I can find it here. Next time, don't touch my buttons.
Machete, don't text. No, I'm just kidding. But I have to say it once per episode now. But, like that. What a scene! Like,
oh, it's so fun.
I thought we got everything we needed from the Sarlacc, but we needed this.
We needed him. We needed him to kill it. We assumed it died. We assumed it died in the opening shot of the series, but we did need to see him actually like shoot it and the bomb and the way it blew up and that sound again, that awesome sound effect that we love from the prequels. So a lot of connection to the prequels in this one, which is really cool. Yeah,
there's I like that they did that. That's great, and I like that they surprised us with the Sarlacc pit again. That's great. We'll never see it again, I'm guessing. I think that's it for the Sarlacc, but it's too bad now that it's dead. Presumably, you could go for a walk down there and see what kind of interesting.
Did she say something about it dissolving? She said something dissolved. I think I don't remember what the line was, but you could see like when we looked into it, you could see like a stormtrooper armor. Mm-hmm. Because of she said the armor have dissolved because of this acid in the stomach of the Sarlacc, right?
Oh, right.
And he says not Beskar. Beskar would not get eaten by the acid. Okay, so then that's when we get the conversation. That's when we learn more about his motivation and what he wants to do. And this is where I think it's gonna I don't think we're gonna get any more flashbacks after this.
No, when he gets, congratulations, you've been healed.
Yeah.
Translation, no more flashbacks.
Exactly.
We're caught up.
Yeah. So 3 more episodes and they're all going to be in the present day. But before that, they have this conversation where he tells Fennec what he wants to do, that he wants to start his own family, I guess, crime family. And he aren't you tired of taking orders from idiots or whatever? I'm like, yeah, I kind of am actually.
What about the biker gang? When did that happen?
Yeah, I forgot about that part.
Was that before?
That was one of the scores he had to settle.
Right.
That was before the Sarlacc. Sorry, you're right. That was the first score he had to settle.
That I love that.
Yes.
Where you see them all drive, and then from the behind, you see Slave One come flying out of the sky. I was like, this is hilarious. But there's an implication, and Fennec says to him that it would take more than them to wipe out Sand People and Tusken Raiders.
Yeah.
Like she says that to him.
Yeah.
But he wipes them out. And it's kind of like, wait a sec, they didn't do it. That's what that's the groundwork that they have laid for the next.
Yeah. Yeah. And I take that as to meaning it was the Pike Syndicate.
Yeah, well, that seems to be the villains here.
Yeah, they're the big bads. So that's who it was. But yes, and I thank you for reminding me about that scene, because that's when we see the true Boba Fett. That's when we see him like just murder dozens of people.
Yeah,
no problem. He's just gonna gun them all down, drop bombs on them, and make sure they're all dead. Now we don't see any bodies, but I would have, like, if this had been a high, like, for a, not for kids, we would have seen, bodies scattered across the desert as he flew away, because that's what he left there. And that's what we wanted. Like, we want to know he does still have that capability to kill, if he needs to, right? Or if he seeks revenge.
Yeah.
Which is kind of scary.
Yeah, no, that's a great scene. All of that stuff. Great stuff.
And then the Sarlacc pit. Sorry, I got so excited about the Sarlacc.
We forgot to also mention that we see him again kill Bib Fortuna when they.
Right. And then again, they redo that whole thing again.
Yeah. Yeah.
Brings us right up to speed. And you're right.
Scores. Yeah.
He does have a weight bench behind that throne. You're absolutely right about that.
Yeah. Yeah. That's right. He's doing weights.
Yeah. But it looks like it was there before. It looks like Bib had that going on. So he just kind of took it over, because this is the scene where he takes over from Bib, sits on the throne, comes out of the back to tank. You're all healed, in more ways than one, emotionally and physically. Or she says something about those to heal. Those take longer to heal.
Really? Was that a line?
That was a line. Yeah,
I forgot about that.
But again, it just speaks to, like, I love his performance is great. She is great. He's so intense. Yeah. We know he is, like, single-minded in his purpose. He wants this. He really wants to. And I ultimately, and they have not revealed it, but I ultimately think his goal is to free Tatooine. I think he's going to get rid of the Pikes. He's going to get rid of all these guys, and then ultimately let people.
He's not going to free Tatooine. He wants to be the crime boss.
Well, but crime is subjective.
He wants to be the boss of Tatooine.
Right. It's not necessarily crime. He just wants to be the ruler and be fair, right? And that kind of stuff. So then we get towards the end here, of course. Then we bring us up to present day. Mm-hmm. He gets out of the back to tank. He's all healed up. He heads back down to the cantina, or wherever this place is, the brothel. Yeah. Now I didn't see. We see the scene where we have Chrysanthemum. What's his name? Damn it! I had it. Chrysanin or Chrysanthemum.
It's spelled like a Wookiee name, which is confusing.
I think it's actually Chrysantin or something like that. Anyway, it's the big Wookiee, the big mean Wookiee that we saw in the last episode, who just kind of jogged off, and apparently he jogged off to the bar. And I didn't understand what was happening. I did not, like, he's looking at these guys, as these Trandoshans who are having fun playing whatever they're playing and winning, and I didn't understand what was going on. I understood afterwards, though. Did you understand?
They're the Wookiee slavers, right?
No, is that what was happening? No,
that's what I thought.
See, very confusing.
I might be wrong.
I think what happened is that they just beat him, and he lost money to them.
No, but he wasn't playing, right?
I know, but I don't know. Anyway, it's confusing. It was all confusing.
He's the drunk, angry guy at the bar.
Yeah.
He everything makes him mad. But I think I'm pretty sure that they're the Wookiee slavers. Who were the Wookiee slavers in Solo? I don't remember.
Trandoshans? I don't remember. Do we even see them? Anyway, maybe somebody can help. Maybe somebody else let us know if we're around. But regardless, it's confusing. And he anyway. But it is your typical, like, angry guy at a bar, gets into a fight. I'm always gonna forget her name. I'm always gonna call her Flashdance. I feel horrible.
Jennifer Beals, thank
you. Comes out and tells him to calm down. I'm gonna wipe off your debt. Wow, that's very nice of her. Yeah. And we'll be all cool. And he's like, okay, fine. And he leaves. Yeah. Now,
hang on. He is going to kill the guy, but instead he just rips his arm off.
Oh, yes, that's right. He doesn't take her deal. Yes, that's right.
And then he finally get it. Yeah. I'll settle the debt myself, but I'll rip this guy's arm off.
Yeah, so we finally got an arm ripping. We finally did get an arm ripping in now we did want to see that. We absolutely wanted to see that.
Yeah. That was good. We don't see him rip it off, but we see it land. So
and there's a little bit of blood around. It's the same amount of blood as the arm in the first movie, right? Like that little arm that gets cut off.
I didn't actually notice that. I didn't know. I noticed the arm drop, but I was so fast I didn't really see.
I think there's a little bit of blood. Anyway, and then Boba Fett, who had just shown up to see this happen. I guess he was just there to recruit the Wookiee, because he just turns around and walks back out and follows him and says, "Want to come work for me?" kind of thing, right? Like basically, he was just there he was not there to do anything else, but to recruit his new bodyguard.
Well, yeah, and he's starting to see that he's going to need some muscle, and so that's where he starts. It's a good place to start, that's for sure, because that Wookiee's badass, and I hope they don't kill him. Because I'd like to see him in other stuff.
Yeah, me too. And I would like to learn more about him as well. So I agree. I hope they don't kill him. And then they go. That's when we see and you're right. This is a shot from this is from the trailer of all the crime bosses at the table. Is there anything I'm forgetting before we move on? Sorry, I always forget.
I think those are the broad strokes.
Yeah, and then we get to the bosses, all the bosses at the table, and this is when and these are, to be clear, now that we know, and this is good that we had the presentation, the PowerPoint presentation last episode about all the different gangs in Mos Espa, because these are the people he's brought together to talk about this, and basically he's asking them to band together. And he's very clear about it, be a defensive union or whatever against the Pikes, to defend Mos Espa again. So that means that they're not going to aggressively move out, but they're also going to fight against and keep them from coming in. Is what he wants to do. So,
and there was a great punchline where I guess he says the words that he's rehearsed, and then the Rancor's fingernails come through the floor.
Yeah.
He's like, "Don't do it until I say these words." So he says those words, I guess. And then the nails come up like
just happened to be sitting there, or maybe he's got a little button. He just kind of taps on the floor and gives a little signal or something to claws up at this time. Yes, but I mean, obviously they meant to do it because the table is right there on top of the grate, so it was perfect timing. And then that's his power move, is his Rancor. Still doesn't seem to work though, because they're still not going to fight with him, but they agreed not to betray him.
Right?
Sure, that's going to happen. But I love that he asked them, agree not to betray me, or whatever he said.
Yeah, that's a good scene. And once again, it's reminding us that there's a Rancor down there, because he's going to get on that Rancor and ride it around. And it's going to be like a joy to behold.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
That's a pure action figure dream right there, which Boba Fett riding around on the back of a Rancor. We're going to see that on this show. So anybody who's saying that they're not getting what they want in the show, come on. Boba Fett on the back of a Rancor? Come on.
And so many different, and again, from a collectibles perspective, there's so many different figures that could come out of this.
They're missing the boat on that, I have to say. They're missing the boat.
And it turns out that Fennec there is a Fennec, but this person that I saw on TikTok got it as an early release. They're part of a special club or something that you get. I don't know what it is. All he did, again, these people, TikTok, you have to be brief. All he did is hold up a box that said a name on it. So I guess I'm supposed to Google the name, but I'm not going to take the time to do that. But that's because somebody said, "How'd you get a Fennec already?" And he did one like this. I'm like, oh. So anyway, that kind of stuff will be out, and we are absolutely going to get Boba Fett on the top of a Rancor as a collectible, as a set, together.
Oh, well, we're going to see it on the show, and we'll get it as a set, and maybe in future Star Wars properties, we'll see him on the Sea Monster from the holiday special. Anything's possible at this point, right?
Exactly.
Anything's possible. And then we have the great ending of the show, which is with him and Fennec at the top of the tower, and setting up. We got money. We can pay people to come help us. And then we hear the telltale woo, 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 woo. We know who's going to show up on the show. Yeah, it's going to be the Mandalorian, and he'll be on maybe the next episode, as early as the next episode. And that's the one thing we have not seen that's in the trailer. We hear a little clip of the Mandalorian's voice in the trailer, a little tiny clip. Right. So we're gonna get the Mandalorian. And Dan, I'm gonna throw this out there too. What if some of the muscle that he can buy, and I can't see how Jon Favreau would not do this. Okay, so you get the Mandalorian. What if we get a little Dengar, a little Bosk.
I heard that. I thought that as well.
A little Forlom. Like, this could be the greatest collection of classic Star Wars figures and the Mandalorian himself. Oh, and who knows who else is hanging out with the Mandalorian these days? Which other Mandalorians might he bring along?
Right, yeah, because
he could bring Luke Skywalker, for Christ's sake.
He could bring Bill Burr, right? We could see Bill Burr.
Oh yeah,
you know,
there's lots of different places that this could go. Luke Skywalker, I want him to bring, and then Boba's like, "You knocked me into the pit. You left me for dead on the sands of Tatooine." I don't think that's gonna happen. I think it's too complicated to bring Luke.
I heard a rumor that someone started a rumor that they're gonna do a age down Harrison Ford as Han Solo.
Everybody's saying that, but how would that fit into anything we've seen?
I don't know. I think they're just saying it because we had a de-aged Mark Hamill in the last show. Like they're gonna do it again. I'm like, nah, I don't think so. I think it would.
Yeah, I don't think so.
No, it would be, and I don't think they want to show. Again, I don't think they're ever going to do that again with Luke, because they don't want to show like too much of the original characters how we remember them, right? Like that they exist in a certain way in those movies, and that's how they should exist.
Well, I still think we're being set up for a finale. Like he's settling scores, right? So I've said it before. I'll say it again. This storyline will resolve itself in one way or another, and then it'll be time for Boba Fett to go after Mace Windu. We'll hear. There's rumors that there's a Jedi Knight who was not purged. There's rumors about that, and he'll be like, "Who is it?" And then we'll find out that there's rumors that Mace Windu is in fact still around. He might even hear the story of Luke Skywalker. Like the Mandalorian could tell him Luke's like some Jedi Knight showed up.
Hey, where's Grogu? Hey, where's your little green guy?
So, Hey, that's right. Some Jedi Knight showed up, and that bridges the gap to Mace Windu and who knows what else. I don't know that Boba Fett's gonna get revenge. Wants revenge on Luke Skywalker. I don't think he would. That was an honorable.
No, I think he would.
Yeah.
Knowing what we know about Boba Fett now, I feel like he would say that was all fair in battle. Like it was a battle. You're fighting against each other. It's all good, man. It was not. It's all good, man. It was not.
Windu, and we've had flashbacks to that scene. We've had flashbacks to poor little Boba on a Camino, seeing the Slave One fly away with Jango in it, and it's all to me that. There will be another season of Book of Boba Fett, a second Book of Boba Fett, book 2. Mm-hmm. And I think what they have to do is that storyline. I think it's too good to pass up. And I think Samuel L. Jackson he's a guy that does everything that comes his way. And he's made no secret that he would love to be back in Star Wars. And I think we're going to get it. I think we'll see that. Yeah. But we won't see it this time. I don't think we're going to see any we'll have an indication that there's a rumor or something like that. That's where I think this is going.
Yeah, and I gotta say, like you've been joking about this for years and years on this podcast.
Yes.
And I always kind of just whatever. They're not gonna whatever. But now I have to say it's the most likeliest as ever be. I do believe that will happen. Like it's almost a given at this point. Because you're right.
Yeah. The pace of the show isn't such that we're going to do that on this season. There's no way that can happen.
No, because we only have 3 episodes left, and we want, and again, the way they're cramming all this awesome stuff into each of these episodes, like we want these episodes to be as crammed full of awesome stuff as we can. So
right,
we won't get into that.
Taking their time.
Yeah,
I'm happy. Like I don't want it to just be like to me the worst thing would have been like, well, I escaped the Sarlacc pit, I got my ship, and now I'm flying off this planet. I like that it's on Tatooine. I know people are sick of it or whatever. They don't want to see it, but I like it. I think this is the right character for that story. After this, maybe we don't need to go back to Tatooine so quickly, right? Like this will be sort of like settle that storyline. And there's nothing wrong with that. I think it's good. I think the place that we have not been that is worth a revisit is Hoth. I think that could be an interesting for somebody to go back there. I don't know who, but it could be an interesting thing to be able to see that again. So but I like this. I like where this is going. I don't need Boba Fett to get in to the Slave One and fly to other planets in this season. And I hope there is another season. I hope all the bitching and moaning does not lead them to go, well, nobody likes Boba Fett or some stupid thing like that, because I don't think I think once the final episodes of this season are in the can, I think people will know that what they got was pretty good stuff. I expect it.
One thing is clear is that this is not breaking through to the mainstream as much as The Mandalorian did.
True.
Most people I know who are like fringe Star Wars, the kind of people who just go to see the movies, did watch The Mandalorian, but aren't watching this. So I didn't expect that. I thought Boba Fett was like a beloved, widely known character, but I guess he's not. He's not as beloved as I thought. Or maybe people just don't care about him as much as I thought they did. But among the Star Wars fans, he is. But I just think around the general public, when people think Star Wars, they think Darth Vader, Stormtroopers, Luke Skywalker. They don't think Boba Fett, right? They think of the main characters.
Well, here's a story for you. Remember when they remastered Star Wars and released it into theaters? Was that 1997? The first time they re-released it with the special edition scene. So I remember being in the theater for that, and Boba Fett shows up on the screen, and a portion of the audience goes, "Yay!" and they clap. And Boba Fett goes, "He's no use to me, dead." And everyone goes, "Oh!" and everybody claps because they're so excited to see him in the remastered film. And I remember there was somebody sitting in a seat behind me who went like, "Who's that?" And the guy's like, "Well, that he doesn't say much, but he's a cool bounty hunter," kind of thing. Like, had to explaining it on the fly. And I remember thinking, like, yeah, like there's a lot of folks who went through that whole movie, and it really didn't make an impression on them. They might not even see the connection between him appearing in Empire Strikes Back and then again getting knocked into the Sarlacc in Return of the Jedi. And for a generation of Star Wars fans, Boba Fett existed as an action figure. And if you didn't play with the action figures, it's not he's not in the films very much, as everybody knows. He's not in the film very much, but to people who had the action figure, like the imagination and places that we put Boba Fett made him sort of this iconic thing. But so it's, I think that people, once the series is in the can, I know people who only watch a series when every episode is up.
Right, because they are releasing them weekly, right? They don't have to wait. Want to have to wait. They want to binge it. Yeah, so people are going to wait to binge it. True.
So I think that's what we're dealing with here.
Yeah,
that's what's going to happen.
Just to add to what you're saying, though, it's because we have so little about Boba Fett that you were able to create so much, right? Because you could do whatever you wanted. Like the other characters have a bunch of stuff that you have to kind of stick to. You have to abide by their canon, right? When you're playing, you can't make Luke a bad guy, that kind of stuff. But Boba Fett, you can make him a bad guy or a good guy. Like he could change sides. He could do whatever. He was kind of a not wishy-washy, but he was like either or, right? So yeah, you're right about that. That's a great point.
The Book of Boba Fett, and Boba Fett's an open book.
There you go.
You can write your own ending if you want. But I think there's one thing that I do not believe they will do, and that's kill Boba Fett. I think he was dead long enough, and they brought him back. And when you think about all, like, oh my God, what year was Jedi? 83?
83.
So that's how long. That's insane. That now there's a TV show giving the people what they wanted in 1983. Like that's something, and that's maybe why some of the fan base doesn't,
well, maybe for some of the fan base, it's not what they wanted, right? It's something else, because people again, they had different ideas of what Boba Fett was in their minds when they were playing with the figure, and this show is not what that was, and it's not what I thought either, but it's okay. I still like it. Like we do not create Star Wars. We do, but we're not in charge of it, so that's probably a good thing.
I once mentioned on this podcast, Kevin Smith, when it came out that Star Wars was coming back and they're going to make movies. And I remember Kevin Smith, and he smokes a lot of pot, right? That's his story. So
that's his thing now. Yeah.
Right. So his great idea, and it's not great, was that Boba Fett would be a time traveler, and he would travel through time. So you could have him appear wherever you want him to appear, and he's like, that's the action figure. That's what we used to play with our action figures, was Boba Fett was a time traveler. So that's the only way. That's the best way that you could do this, and that's not happening. And nor will he be killed. I just don't see either one of those. Once you get into time travel, that's pretty much a sign that your series is spent.
Oh, that's true, I guess. Well, yeah, we'll have to see. Now, in a way, I kind of think of the flashbacks as time travel because we're shifting between time periods.
Well,
but
that's not
as we
time
said,
travel.
it's
Yeah.
confusing though. It's even that is confusing as we've established. So, all right. Well, we got to wrap it up for today, but we will of course continue watching the show and let us know what you think. You can tweet at us. You know, we'll put all the links in the show notes. I don't want to say them out loud right now. That's gonna do it for this episode of the Star Wars Nerds. I'm Dan Vadabunker.
I'm Kenton Larson. Don't let the Force hit you on the ass.
We're all fine here now, thank you. How are you?